God's prophets in general history, the Queen of Sheba with Solomon and the Queen of the Amazons with Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great in the Asian region, from Turkey to China, is a sacred figure and not a pagan as he was called. Likewise, all the Greeks, and after them the Romans, are the children of Israel mentioned in religious books. All Jewish religious sources, such as Josephus the Jew in the 1st century AD, and, according to ancient Arab sources, such as Al-Masudi in the 9th century, Alexander the Great believed in one God, performed Hajj pilgrimages, and built religious temples for Jews. A major lie against history is the idea that Alexander the Great and the Greeks were pagans. Azerbaijan State. Alexander in Azerbaijani folklore, home of the Amazon Queen or Queen of Sheba. The historical, epic, chronicled, literary and other information about Alexander is preserved in people's memories and enshrined in folklore. Thus, there are multiple legends about Alexander in Azerbaijani folklore. In the manuscripts, Alexander differs from his historical prototype, having an image that reflects all the beauty of folk wisdom. In legend, Alexander has been called Alexander the Great, Horned Alexander, Alexander Zulkarnain, Two-Horned, and so on. According to the legends, the Caspian Gates of Derbend, the Gates of Shirvan, as well as Alexander Gates, were built by him. Mythbreaker and Buried Treasure. One legend has it that Alexander came to the Shirvan region crossing the Azerbaijani town of the Gates of Derbend. He climbed Mount Fit, where locals were afraid to tread, and announced his arrival to the people. It used to be thought that people of the other world lived on Mount Fit and there was no way back for those who once went there. Alexander destroyed that belief. Alexander told people that he was king of the whole world. He constructed a castle on the mountain, buried all his treasure there, appointed guards, and left Shirvan a magic horn, causing earthquake, treasure, and defeat. After conquering the world, Alexander decided to occupy the Azerbaijani kingdom of Shirvan. Shirvan's regent was a woman who lived in her maiden castle. She rejected Alexander's ultimatum to capitulate. A battle began and Alexander's army surrounded Shirvan. The queen sent poison snakes towards Alexander. He was powerless against them and offered to fight a Shirvanian face to face. The queen went out herself to fight. During the fight, Alexander dropped his helmet and his horn became apparent. She knocked him down, grasping at his horn. His broken horn pierced the land. As all of Alexander's strength was held in the horn, he became weak and was defeated. He buried his treasure in the land of Shirvan and left the country. People began to look for his treasure, but Alexander's horn, broken and stuck in the earth, protected it. Whenever people began searching for the treasure, the horn shook and created an earthquake. Alexander's horn was the reason for the frequent destructive earthquakes in Shamaka, in Shirvan. This story is similar to the Quranic story of the Prophet Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Alexander and the water of life. Alexander the Great searched for the water of life to achieve immortality. He found the fountain of youth in Shirvan, Azerbaijan. He immediately took some of the water in a golden cup and lifted it to drink. But a bird suddenly flew past, hitting the cup with its wing and knocking it out of his hand. Alexander was angry and went to kill the bird. Suddenly a voice told him that the bird was his savior. The voice came from behind a rock. It told him that he was an old man who had never wanted to die. I found this fountain, drank the water, and became immortal. I was called Diri Baba, elder, because I never died and have remained alive. After some time I lost all my relatives who had completed their term in this world. Now I am completely alone. Life is boring for me, but I can't die. I sent that bird to you because I don't want you to repeat my miserable experience. Alexander understood that eternal physical life is pointless. A person must live by doing good work in this world. Indeed, he lived for only 33 years, but in this short life he achieved things that carved his name forever into the cultural history of the world and the epic memories of nations. We still remember his name, his deeds, and he lives on in our memories in spite of the 2,333 years that have passed. Our ancient earth never forgets those who created history by good deeds. Iskandar with Sheba, queen of the women-only city of Barda, in today's Azerbaijan. Iskandar had visited the queen in disguise, but she immediately exposed him as an impostor by presenting him with his own portrait which she had painted earlier. Reprimanding him, she nevertheless forgave him, and they feasted together before he went on his way. The image of Alexander created by Nizami Alexander the Great is known as Alexander, Iskandar, of Macedon in the east, including in Azerbaijan. One of the renowned Nizami Ganjavi's 1141–1209 poems is the Iskandar name. Nizami Ganjavi, a prominent figure in Eastern literature, advanced literature from the folktale style, bringing in completely new novel-style concepts and new aesthetic forms, founding a literary school that outlived him. The poem Iskandar name is in two parts. The first part, called Shiref name, concerns Alexander's conquests, and the second part, the Iqbal name, describes his scientific, philosophical, and prophetic life. In the Shiref name, Nizami touches on Alexander's origins, depicting him as the real son of Philip, refuting all the Rome and Persian legends that say otherwise. There was an image of Alexander in Eastern literature before Nizami. Working on his poem, Nizami avoided a tale-like description of the legends and myths about Alexander and created a new literary style. In doing so, he introduced a new type of human image to world literature. Nizami's Alexander was a new image of a ruler, reflecting philosophical views on the harmony of nature, society, and time itself. This image has a complicated structure. Nizami was a philosopher-poet, the Prophet Solomon, and the city of Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. If we look at the first book of Kings, we find that the Prophet Solomon distributed cities to kings, including Hiram, king of Tyre, meaning the island of Crete, and he also gave him the city of Kabul, mentioning the name of the city of Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, caused all translated books to be changed except for the Egyptian Church's version, because they thought that Prophet Solomon did not reach Afghanistan. If we focus on the text, you will find that Solomon had a naval fleet. This is impossible because at the time of the Prophet Solomon in the 10th century, there was no naval fleet in the Mediterranean. Hiram is what is meant in the Torah. He is the commander of Alexander the Great's naval fleet, named Nearchus. First Book of Kings, chapter 9:11. Now Hiram king of Tyre had provided Solomon with cedar wood, cypress wood, and gold, according to all his pleasure. Then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. 12. So Hiram went out from Tyre to see the cities that Solomon had given him, but they did not please him. 13. Then he said, "What are these cities that you have given me, my brother?" He called it the land of Kabul to this day. The Innsbruck painting. The Arcade painting, also known as the Innsbruck painting. The latter attribution is based on the fact that it is part of the collection of the Tiroler Landesmuseum Ferdinandum, Innsbruck, Austria, with illustrations. It combines the names of Solomon, son of David, and Alexander the Great. The painting is from the Middle Ages in the 12th century, and it combines Islam and the Christian Byzantine state. The front of the panel consists of 3 sections. The first section can be defined as the central suit that depicts Alexander the Great to the divine level. The second section consists of the painting that surrounds the central circle and shows scenes of fighting and birds drawn from the front. The third section is the outer area, the lip of the plate, and consists of inscriptions written in Arabic containing the names, titles, and genealogical information of the ruler of Artuqa, who attributes himself to Solomon, son of David. Images of jinn with Iskandar in Azerbaijani art. The griffin is a particularly powerful and majestic creature and was used to guard valuable possessions and protect against evil and witchcraft. An example of griffin symbolism can be seen in Christendom, where the duality of the griffin, his fusion of lion and eagle, was seen as a representation of the human and divine nature of Jesus. An interpretation of the Innsbruck painting could be that Alexander's Authority to wield divine power is indicated by the use of such a powerful and multivalent creature symbolically. Do not forget that Alexander the Great used to paint in Christian churches in the first centuries. In ancient manuscripts of the Ethiopian Church found in England, it is believed that Alexander the Great was a prophet. Hesham Taher.